Let's double down on the biggest story of the day and the conversations around it. That is the Federal High Court's ruling on the terrorism charges leveled against proscribed IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Life sentence on all the charges leveled against him, which has been found guilty of. The reactions continue to elicit what many say has been a polarizing issue. Some have even termed it the judgment of the decade, because this has been, to say the least, the trial of the decade, because it has been an ongoing battle over the last 9 years and counting. But beyond just the ruling itself, what does this mean for peace and security beyond the southeast, but of course across the nation? And will there be that final call for a political solution? Because according to some commentators, this is now in the political realm. Whether an appeal is going to overturn the judgment or not remains to be seen. But let's bring in our guest, who is a security and public affairs analyst. Salihu Mahmud is here with us on Daily Politics this evening. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Very good evening. The dog Uncle Person. Yes, we've been here and there trying to get the natural things. You know, sometimes we don't just stay in Abuja. We move around too.
It's good to move around.
Thank you very much.
Your quick reaction to the ruling on the terrorism charges against Nnamdi Kanu. The court's position has been, to say the least, quite profound. You listen to what Justice Omotosho had to say about the charges, about the evidence, about the processes itself, about the defendant. What do you make of what happened earlier in the day?
Even though against the wish of the prosecutor, who had sought for death penalty, because the judge, Justice Omotosho, seemed to have frowned upon it because it's not in tandem with global judicial practices. Today, it has redefined the judiciary as one that is not a lame duck, as one that is trying to write its name in gold and not in nemesis, the one that also has become lender of last resort in terms of unity, peace, and development of Nigeria. So I think just like the Director General of the Progressive Institute, Dr. Larry, once said when we had a conversation, he said part of the problem we also have in this country is that sometimes people take individual selfish interests above national interests, that we are there to be effective justice system. Nobody, no matter how big, would come and tamper with national security. Because when you observe above sentiments, Nnamdi Kanu incited, that led to loss of lives and properties in the entire Southeast. We did not easily forget the sit at home order the unknown government gave in the Southeast, how they killed military men, how they ambushed police officers, how they ambushed traders that were conveying cash crops to southeastern part of the country, except we want to shy away from the fact. So I think this is, even though Justice Omotosho is not regimented, I want to say I'm giving him 21 civilian gun salutes. He's not military. He did the best. He has promoted and also made image for Nigerian judiciary across the world. Because you are talking about terrorism here. Whether you bear arm or you incite, the judgment should be the same. Even though we are saying there should still be the bringing up and establishment of special prosecution courts. Because look at Boko Haram extremists who were given pardon in Northeast. At the time it occurred, we said these people just disguised to come and spy. What later happened? They went even to military bases, cantonment, to attack. These were the sets of people that were given pardon. So I think even though it's going to be appealed, even though the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Kalu, is trying to say there is going to be succumbing or maybe resorting to a political process. What political process? Many Igbo people were also killed through incitement of Nnamdi Kanu. People that were seen as affront to his APOP. Not even Raf Wazurike, who brought mass of them, killed people because that incitement led to death of many.
Right. I mean, some of his legal, not necessarily counsels, because he has decided to represent himself in the final days of the trial, but his legal consultant, Aloy Ejimako, said Nnamdi Kanu is not a terrorist. He said, listen, the court basically sentenced him based on commentary, what he said on Radio Biafra and some of his outlandish, controversial comments. And there is very little evidence to connect the dots that he's linked with all the deaths that the court relied on. Do you believe that there is some argument there? When the evidence do not necessarily stick?
When you incite is equal to bearing arms. That is what you call influence.
In the eye of the law?
In the eye of the law. Let me give you an example of Rwanda. In 1994, it was incitement that led to genocide in Rwanda. Even though Kagame, then as rebel leader, who later came and liberated Rwanda to what it is today, when they started trying them subsequently, they went by such evidences for the people in the broadcast industry in Rwanda, military and other people who participated. So when you incite, for example, the Finnish law that sentenced Simon Ekpa did not see him bearing arms. He was there in Finland inciting, because most of the social media postings incited a lot of illiterate Igbo people who formed unknown government. That was why at a forum I asked the questions. How many senators doing well in the National Assembly are part of IPOP? How many House of Rep members? How many governors? How many industrialists? You cannot see somebody like Innocent Motors or Chief Atoeze being part of IPOP. Is just some charlatans and miscrimes that go through the incitement of the likes of Nnamdi Kanu, Simon Ekpa, and also others. And so the havoc Nnamdi Kanu wreaked through his incitement is even beyond some bandits bearing arms. So it is the same thing in the point of law. So what the judge relied on is facts, because this is somebody that has seen it all in the judiciary and still seeing it.
As you can tell, opinions are quite divided about that. But going back to the defendant's consultant, Aloy Ejimako, let's have a listen to his words after the ruling.
Okay. All right. Okay, now. Okay, please, we'd just like you to react to the judgment that have just been delivered. It has been a long battle from 2015 to now, but your client got life imprisonment. How are you going to react?
Today we forever live in infamy. Today is the only day I have witnessed a man being convicted for mere puffery, for what he said from his mouth, not what he did with his own hands. The verdict is not consistent with the evidence laid before the court. The sentence is overbroad, cruel, and unusual. How can you convict a man for making mere broadcasts from a location that was never named, and he never tied that broadcast to any single incident of violence, or even someone slapping someone, not to talk of terrorism? You did all this, you didn't lay any evidence. I don't know where this whole verdict can be grounded in law, logic, or facts. We disagree with the judgment vehemently. Completely. Yes. And we are going to fight it from here onwards until justice is done.
Yes. There's no justice yet.
Yes. Suspect the judgment is not based on law. It's not based on facts. It's based on politics. It's based on some tribal, primordial sentiments. Just because Nnamdi Kanu is Igbo. An Igbo man has become the person in Nigeria that should be trampled upon. I'm not saying this because I'm Igbo. I'll say it for the Hausa or Yoruba who gets trampled upon. But today we saw an Igbo man being trampled upon, and by God Almighty, we are not going to allow it. It will not stand. Nobody is going to trample on me. Nobody is going to trample on Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu is not a terrorist. He's a man that was pursuing change. To pursue a separate nation of yours is not a crime. So in Nigeria today, if somebody says, don't be silly, you get convicted. Nnamdi Kanu may broadcast, and so what? And you convict him.
Right, of course. Inflamed passions there from one who used to be the legal counsel representing Nnamdi Kanu in that trial, ended up becoming a consultant, a legal consultant, but still one who spoke during the delivery of that judgment by Justice Omotosho, giving his 2 cents about the politicization of the process, as well as some of the other elements that he believed played a significant part in the life sentence that was meted out to Nnamdi Kanu, a judgment that many have already said they are going to appeal. Your reaction to that? Has him being an Igbo man played a role in the verdict that was delivered earlier today, in your view?
It's devoid of facts, and I'm very, very disappointed that this man read law for 5 years, went to law school. Some lawyers are devoid of reasoning. Lives of every human being in Nigeria matters. This same lawyer forgot how a lot of people from some part of the country going to the southeast to sell were ambushed, massacred by unknown gunmen acting on the incitement of Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa. This same lawyer has forgotten how many military officers, particularly land army officers, were ambushed and killed, slaughtered like chicken. This same lawyer has forgotten how his fellow Igbo men and women were also killed for defying sit-at-home order. He is saying hatred against Igbo. How? Go to Kano, Sabongari, who are the people that own most of the edifices there, Igbo. Go to Sabongari. In Lagos, Alaba International Market, most of the electronic dealers internationally are Igbos. Deputy Speaker House of Reps is Igbo. Recently appointed Chief of Air Staff, Aneke, Igbo. Innocent Motors, that is an industrialist, Igbo. Ato Eze is one of the good friends of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu Jagaban Borgu. He lives in Maitama. He's Igbo. He has been friend to General Sani Abacha. Wealthy and well-doing Igbo men do not want disunity. They don't support disintegration, but there are some undesirable and disgruntled elements who don't know what is national security. This same lawyer that is talking today, if the security of Nigeria is tampered with, he cannot even have access to that court he went to. It is unfortunate that some people are bringing the legal profession to disrepute. His statements are even incitement, because what he's trying to say there, I wonder why the Department of State Services, even though we have expression of freedom of speech, interest, and all of other things, but they are inimical to unity in this country. There is nobody, no tribe in this country that is against Igbo. I want to tell you, even before I came here, one of the last men I spoke to in Ihiri, Anambra State, related to late former Minister of State for FCT, Ikejiani Clark, who is of blessed memory now, is Igbo. Every morning, I speak to people in Oka, I speak to people in Abakaliki. How is he a vendetta against Igbo when there are many Igbo? Minister of Works, Umai, that is doing well today, is Igbo.
Right, but you, without necessarily cherry picking who is in government, who is not in government. I mean, these are conversations that polarize people. Your opinion is as good as the next person's opinion, right? But as far as the case history is concerned, you remember back in 2022, 2023, when in 2022 exactly, a major breakthrough came through when a federal high court struck out 8 counts against Nnamdi Kanu, right? It said it lacked, the evidence against him lacked merit. There was not enough evidence. And the Court of Appeal ordered his release that same year. But it was reversed shortly after in 2023, which gave birth to this drama that we saw unfold in the courts from 2023 to date, where he persistently insists that if you have to go by the law, he has been asked, he has been granted bail, and that bail was not followed with. Is it fair then to make a point that at some point in time, even the judicial process itself has not been fair to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Therefore, those arguments about political persecution could have some validity.
You see, even though I'm not a lawyer, the judicial process goes by ups and downs. I'll give you an example of Kano Emirship tussle. You know, there was a time Federal High Court gave its verdict, later State High Court overturned it, and also others. So the issue I'm saying, that is what we call judicial abracadabra. That is the sweetness of law, the legal profession, where what you think you know, the knowledge you think you have, another person's own supersedes. You see, there are issues people need to know. Even in America, whose democracy we are practicing, there is what you call national security. When you come to issues of national security, for example, you have the Department of State Services. If one man can make this country disintegrate, there is bound to be that argument, and that was what you saw in the judicial process. So it is only the verdict of the apex court that always stands as the last.
Yeah,
so those other lower ones...
The point, Mr. Salihu, I'm trying to make is that this particular development happened in 2022. And the verdict of the Supreme Court did not come until December of 2023, when the Supreme Court overturned the ruling, reinstating the charges and keeping him in detention. There was close to a year, if not a year plus, between the Federal High Court saying the evidence lacked merit and then the Court of Appeal granting him bail, and that not happening up until December of 2023, when the Supreme Court reversed those rulings. In between those judgments is where most people make the case that this is politically motivated, that he has been persecuted by the state.
What political motivation when even his governors are against him? The Supreme Court is the apex court. The benches there are people that have seen it all. You don't just wake up in a day and get elevation to the apex court. That is why they are the lenders of last resort. The arguments you get from magistrates to high courts, to federal high courts, to appellate courts, it ends in Supreme Court. Whatever verdict the Supreme Court gives, you can't take it anywhere, and that is why they are the apex court. So for the apex court to have overturned it, they might have studied it and observed that there were gray areas where the lower courts that gave verdict did not look into. And like I emphasized to you earlier, even if it is America, issues of national security are taken seriously. And I told you, with the incitement of Nnamdi Kanu, a lot of lives were lost. It is not when you pick AK-47 or anti-aircraft missile or RPG or AK-49 and shoot. No. If you have influence, you can influence. For example, as Salihu and Mahmud now, even Kayama local government area of Kwara State, I can incite 30 people to go somewhere and kill people. I can be arrested and treated same way with an armed robber who went and shot directly. It's the same thing. And that was why I brought you an example with Rwandan genocide. It was incitement. Most of these people that made the Hutu rebels to go after Tutsi nationals and what have you did not pick AK-47 and start going. No. It was through radio broadcasts, newspaper publication, television programs that they incited. And those people carried cutlasses, matches, and what have you. And that was why when the prosecution came, they were treated same as people that were armed. So same thing extends to Nnamdi Kanu. Let this lawyer go and borrow example from Rwandan genocide. These people that incited were in radio stations. They never beard arm, went on the street of Kigali. So the issues people need to know. Leave, okay, who is instigating the political what have you? Is it because Nnamdi Kanu, maybe his local government cannot even become local government chairman, talk more of state assembly. What political influence has he in Southeast? When influential Igbo people are against him.
You don't think he has political influence over what is happening in the Southeast?
What he has is sectarian and dissident-related influence. You see, for you to be a dissident is as easy as ABC. If people like Bello Turji, who are illiterate in both Arabic and formal education, can incite, what more of the issues about some illiterate people in the Southeast is that already they have negative mindset on other ethnic groups across Nigeria. And what is their number? Just very few. People that when they even come out, they can't win even councillorship. I gave you examples for successful Igbo people, men and women. Even in the Ohanes and the Igbo, are they in support of what he's doing? Let me tell you, late Odumegwu Ojukwu, he said Biafra can never be resuscitated, that Biafra has died down a natural death with him. That is somebody that was in charge of the entire eastern region before the Biafran civil war. Odumegwu Ojukwu, he was pardoned. Right now, all his military rights have been restored by federal government. So what is Nnamdi Kanu trying to say? And I want to remind him, he did not start this. There is a particular Raf Uwazurike. He started Masop. Even Raf Uwazurike is against Nnamdi Kanu because Nnamdi Kanu brought a kind of violence-related pattern. How on earth can you incite people to attack people if they bring statistics of military people that were killed? Police, Gulak, former national legal advisor of PDP, was killing Oweribau or non-government. He has wives, he has children, he has grandchildren. What can we say of that? I want to give his lawyer that particular example. What about the tomato sellers? What about people conveying cattle? What about other military officers? Are they not human beings? It should be fire for fire. That was why, to some extent, I was angry. What the prosecutor wanted, even though it's not in tandem with what judicial order, should have been done when you kill. And this thing should not only be singled out to Nnamdi Kanu. For Boko Haram suspects that are currently in prison, whose legal distance is still going, it should be same thing. Let it not be life sentence. It should be death penalty. They've made people orphans, widows and widowers. You see, rule of law is respecter of nobody. Let me tell you, if today any top politician comes out to incite, whether you are senator, whether you are governor, same thing will happen. So it is not because it is Nnamdi Kanu, and let us take away political vendetta. Who is after him?
Right. So you don't see the political connection. You don't see that 44 House of Representative members have sent a request demanding a political resolution that will set him free. We've seen overtures done by governors. We've seen, even before the Buhari administration ran its timeout, where the president said, listen, let the legal course take its let the legal course play out first before we can talk about a political resolution. You've seen how several governors in the Southeast have said, listen, we're going to step in. We're talking to Mr. President about a political resolution. You don't think that there is enough to suggest that this is not the end of the story for Nnamdi Kanu?
You see, these governors are mainly of the opposition. Like Deputy Speaker of the House of Rep is PDP, is protecting its political game. 2027.
I mean, we have 7 governors in the Southeast, to be fair.
The APC governors in Southeast are not in support of Nnamdi Kanu because they know he's a dissident as well as enemy of state. And like I told you,
but you do understand that in the Southeast, there are a lot of people who see him as a freedom fighter, someone who believes in the right to self-determination.
These are people,
regardless of your points about everything that has happened.
These are short-sighted people, and these are people who do not believe in national unity. You see, there are some short-sighted people in the Southeast. Maybe since they were born, they've never even left the shores of Southeast. They have this particular hatred against certain people, other tribes. I don't want to say Hausa alone. It could be any other tribe. These are the same set of disgruntled people that are making Nnamdi Kanu to feel like he's a lord with no apology to anybody. On national unity, we cannot jeopardize. And a very big advice to Mr. President, he should not make that mistake. Maybe because he might like to have some sympathy from that region in 2027. There are people like Dave Umahi of the APC and other governors who have followership, who can do it for him. Let this judgment be devoid of any attempted or maybe planned presidential pardon.
You don't even see that as an overture to pacify a significant part of the Nigerian population who believe that the Igbos have been marginalized politically. You don't think the president should explore the idea of this being an overture that could signal some sort of goodwill on the part of not just the president, but on the part of the government, that listen, your concerns matter?
How are they marginalized? If there is any
I'm saying the perception of marginalized. I mean, you heard what...
well, every individual is entitled to his or her opinion. They have elected governors, senators, House of Reps, ministers, and all of other things. If the Southeast still remains underdeveloped, they should hold them responsible. How many percentage are given federal appointments? Like I gave you an example now. Among the newly appointed service chiefs, a juicy service chief slot, Chief of Air Staff, Aneke, is from Southeast. Automatically, they are going to have increased enlistment at other rank level of Air Force, short service and direct short service into Air Force. You see, sentiment should be put apart. Once you are given one quality appointment, is more than 10 inferior parastatals. That position of Deputy Speaker that Kanu got can influence a lot of things, employments in NNPC, a lot of things. There is nowhere Kanu will give covering note and they will not respect it. The Chief of Air Staff too can use this opportunity to get his people enlisted. How many times have they been given opportunity to go to Depot area? The ratio is showing for some years now, the numbers of regular recruits into land army has reduced from Southeast. It means they are the architects of their problem. Once these things are to be taken, they go by true federal character practice. The same slot you get to Niger is the same you get to Enugu, Ebonyi, Imo, and other states. The same thing, the regular combatant intake annually. There is no way you give 4 to Kano without giving 4 to Enugu. So there are certain things, so how are they marginalized?
You don't think there's room for political compromise in this? You think that the judiciary should take the lead on this and he should deal with the outcome of whatever the verdict is if he decides to appeal this ruling?
If Finland can convict Simon Ekpa, I see no reason why.
Yeah, but this is Nigeria.
We should see, when we attend international conferences, when we sign bilateral agreements and treaties, we should also act in tandem with international best practices. I think this will be the time the judiciary can show that there is no favoritism to anyone, no matter what anyone is saying. The judiciary is an arm of government and it has its independence. Therefore, this is the time it will linger on up to the Supreme Court, and I want, at the time it gets to the apex court, let them uphold the verdict of Federal High Court. And if subsequently it goes to appellate court before the Supreme Court, let it be in consonance.
So your advice to the president is stay away from this case?
Stay away, because the judiciary is independent. And if...
No, even after the verdict, I mean, if he gets sentenced, the president has the prerogative of mercy.
With due respect to Mr. President, I think to some extent he has been neutral in a lot of things. And I think Bola Ahmed Tinubu Jagabamborgu need to sustain it, because he's an experienced statesman. He has been governor for 8 years. So now as president, he should write his name in gold and not nemesis. So he should stay clear. No matter who comes from Southeast, they are not representing the generality of good people of Southeast, but their own self-centered interests.
Okay.